Right then, hello and welcome to Adventure Coast Southport in Planet Coaster 2. And yeah, this is the one I was going to do first, but then I ended up getting distracted by Thorpe Park. So yeah, it's finished now. But I'm quite happy with how this has come out. It's quite an interesting park in real life because it's a very old park. And for the longest time it was an amusement park. It was around before theme parks were really a thing. But now it's a theme park. In 2023 it rebranded into different themed areas, and then they changed the name of the park this year. It used to be Pleasureland. So yeah, we're going to start with the ride on the log flume. This is in the Vikings area, which is the first area. Viking Landing. Yeah, they're not like tied in, they're just kind of each ride in a section is themed to a theme that connects them. But yeah, it still fits the atmosphere, it still fits the system, with wristbands and everything like that, like a seaside park. However, it's now themed, and it is some of the areas, as much as they've sort of been resourceful with the rides and the theming that they've got, they've done a really good job. They're using everything they've got to make these areas, and it's got a unique charm to it, a bit like somewhere like Twin Lakes or Wicksteed. And there we go, that was the log flume, and it is a Reversion one. Now we're going to do the only coaster in the park. That's something this park is lacking. There is actually an SB&O coaster in real life, and if it does open at some point, I'll obviously build a recreation of it. Yeah, this is Odin's Little Dragon, which is a wacky worm. I think it's a DP one. It's not a Pinfari. It might look like a Pinfari at first glance, but yeah, so the first wacky worm in Planet Coaster 2 as well. And there we go, the wacky worm. And it's got on-ride photos as well. Yeah, the next ride is an interesting one. It's got a lot of history. This is Wallace's Workshop. Now, it might look like it's called Viking. It's not. It's called Wallace's Workshop. This is a tracked dart ride that was originally manufactured by Blackpool Pleasure Beach in 1932, and then it was bought here. I'm pretty sure it was refurbished by IE Park, but a lot of the animatronics have been reused as well as the ride system. So yeah, you might not think it fits in. For me, it's just a Viking toy factory. I like the history of that ride, and I don't really want it to change. But yeah, here we are in the steampunk area, Steampunk Bay. You have got a couple of flat rides. This is the biggest ride in the park, and it's a flat ride. But I'm sure that someone would have put POVs up of the flat rides in Planet Coaster 2, or you could see what they do from off-ride, really. Although the views are quite nice, but I don't know, they're sort of generic rides, they're not custom built, so I don't tend to ride them, and I sort of keep up with that tradition. There is an indoor Miami wave in there as well. Of course, a wave swing. This is a very fleshed out area, but this is the area where the other coaster is. And now we're going to ride the Ghost Train, which is the former track from the Ghost Train at Camelot. The interior has pretty much been the same since when this opened here, which I can't remember when it opened at Southport actually, but yeah, just feature an actor inside, which I've been able to replicate. Right, I've just looked it up, and it is a WGH transportation ride system for that. And yeah, it used to be Dungeons of Doom at Camelot. But yeah, I think there used to be a lot more like Poundland theming that they've taken out, and it's having an actor that makes it unique. The fact that there's always an actor in there, at least like in peak times there is anyway. But yeah, now we're going into sort of it's more of like the weaker area of the park. A lot of like the travelling rides and the funfair rides, style rides that were here before have been put in. Basically the ones that were, because they used to bring in showmen on a plot of land at the back, but now these are just the travelling rides that Norman Wallace owns. The Twister's actually not Twister, it's a Calypso in real life, which is just the pre-date version of the Sizzler. Yeah, so here we are in the pirate area, Pirate's Cove. This has a pirate ship and a log flume, and this used to be a place called Adventure Wonderland in Bournemouth, and they got rid of all their rides, sort of rebranded it as a country park. So they got a couple of rides here, and this is the junior log flume. And there we go, the junior log flume with, in real life if you've been on it, I'm not sure if it's still the case, but when I went earlier in the year, it's got a bizarre soundtrack, especially for a family park, but yeah, I've just took probably the most famous sea shanty for the music in this. But yeah, you can see the flying jumbos. I've had to improvise because they haven't put that ride in Planet Coaster 2 yet. I don't know why. It was in the first game, it was just too themed. They just need to put a generic version that you can theme yourself. But yeah, this is the final attraction here, which is the Fun House. Now, this is probably the one I'm not as happy with how it's come out, but it has to be compact, and I feel like the building's a little bit too big and there's a lot of dead space. But yeah, this is the walkthrough attraction. It is a travelling one that's just been sort of reskinned, and they've extended it a little bit at the back because it goes through like the old River Caves building, or at least the building was next to the River Caves, and they don't really use that space. But yeah, it's an interesting one, especially the Trommel tunnel at the end hasn't worked for a while, so I've just not had it activated, and there's not really a lot to look at in this, but it is hard to replicate a walkthrough like this. But yeah, there we go. It's not too bad. I think since I added some detail to the walls and things, it's got better. But yeah, it's nice. There we go. That's the flying Dumbos. But that is Adventure Coast Southport. Hopefully they will be able to, because they were talking about adding this new big coaster in at some point in the future. And to be honest, where the rocket is in the steampunk area, basically it's just, so if you're facing the ghost train and where the bar is, it's just to the right of that bar. I didn't replicate it in this, but if it does reopen, I will, because I'm sure I'll go back if it reopens. I'm sure I'll go back anyway, but you just need another coaster. I think, to be honest, if they need to, just get rid of the rocket, try and get an IE one. I don't think they make them anymore, that model. It's a Pinfari Mini Mega, and then IE made newer versions after Pinfari went bust, because it was one of Pinfari's last models. I think I'd like to see the looping coaster, because that's still in storage. That could be rethemed to Pirates, because it was a great one. It was needed a lick of paint, but it was well maintained as a Pinfari. I did that back in 2021. Fantastic. Yeah, I think in terms of the quantity of the rides, it was better in 2021, but I think they're getting there. I think it's just refreshing. I'd like to see all the rides from William Wallace back here in operation, but just themed.